The Girl in the Glass Pod. The Deep Space Research Station Haven 9 floated alone near the edge of a dead solar system. Outside its windows, there was only darkness, drifting rocks, and cold stars. Inside the station, everything was quiet. Until the alarm sounded. Unidentified object approaching, the computer said. Technicians rushed to the observation deck. On the screen, a small escape pod tumbled slowly through space, spinning, damaged. It wasn't sending any signals. No lights, no ID code. Where did it come from? One officer asked. No idea, said another. But it's not human-made. That was enough to get the lead scientists involved. A recovery ship was sent immediately. The pod was brought inside Haven 9's docking bay. It was covered in burn marks and strange symbols. Its surface looked like smooth metal mixed with glass and something alive. It pulsed faintly under the light. And inside? A girl. Young alien, floating in blue liquid. Her skin was a pale, glowing blue. Her hair looked like silver threads. Her arms were crossed over her chest, and a soft light glowed from her heart. Technicians and doctors surrounded. The pod, is she alive? Barely. Her vitals are dropping. Do we open it? The head scientist, Dr. Varon, shook her head. Not yet. If we disturb the chamber, it might kill her. But she's dying anyway, said a voice behind the crowd. Everyone turned. It was Ryan Holt, a human maintenance tech. He wasn't a doctor or a scientist. He fixed pipes and wires. No one took him seriously. Let the experts handle this, Holt, Dr. Varon snapped. Ryan ignored her. He stepped forward slowly. The others moved aside, confused. He stared at the girl in the pod. Something about her felt familiar. Not her face, not her shape, something deeper. He placed his hand gently on the glass. Then it happened. The light in her chest pulsed. Faster. Her fingers twitched. The monitors beeped. Heart rate rising. The room froze. What the hell? One doctor whispered. Ryan's hand stayed on the glass. He didn't move. The girl's lips parted slightly, and in a voice like wind, soft and broken, she whispered, Don't leave. Ryan jumped back in shock. Did you hear that? He asked. Dr. Varon stepped forward, looking at the readings. This is impossible. When I touched the glass, Ryan said, her vitals jumped. No, Varon said firmly. That's just coincidence. But she spoke. She's unconscious. That's just brain activity, Echo. No, Ryan said. She looked at me. Varon turned to the guards. Remove Holt from the lab. 2 guards grabbed Ryan by the arms. This isn't over, he shouted as they dragged him away. She needs help. Hours passed. Varon and her team ran every test possible. Nothing worked. The girl's vitals dropped again. Her skin lost its glow. Her breath slowed. Varon sighed. She's fading. There's nothing we can do. They prepared to shut down the pod and record her death. But late that night, Ryan returned. He bypassed the security locks. He entered the lab quietly, alone. The girl still floated, barely moving. He walked to the pod and whispered, I'm sorry they didn't listen. He placed his hand back on the glass. Again, her chest glowed. Her fingers moved. Her eyes opened, just a little. She looked straight at him. You? Human? Ryan froze. You can hear me? Only with you. He leaned closer. What do you mean? She closed her eyes again. If you go, I die. Ryan didn't leave. He sat by the pod all night, holding her hand through the glass. Her vitals stayed stable. The monitors stayed green. He whispered stories from Earth. He talked about the stars. He didn't even know her name. But he stayed. The next morning, Dr. Varon entered the lab and gasped. What are you doing in here? Guards stormed in. Ryan stood up. Look at her vitals. She's alive, one nurse whispered. She's stable. another confirmed. Veron's face turned cold. I said, remove him. As they dragged Ryan away again, the pod monitors flashed red, heartbeat dropping, breath slowing. Ryan looked at the guards. Can't you see? She's connected to me. I don't know how or why, but without me, she dies. They ignored him. The doors closed behind him. And inside the lab, the alien girl lay still once more. Denied by science. The doors to the medical wing slammed shut. Behind Ryan Holt, 2 security guards marched him down the narrow metal hallway. His hands were clenched into fists. He could still hear the pod's alarm echoing behind him. He had seen it with his own eyes. The alien girl only stayed alive when he was near her, but no one wanted to believe it, because he wasn't a doctor, he wasn't a scientist, he was just a technician. Back in the lab, Dr. Veron watched the monitors. With frustration, the girl's vitals had dropped again, low but not gone. She stared at the girl in the glass pod and muttered, "This doesn't make sense." She turned to her assistant. "Double-check the life support feed." "It's functioning perfectly," the assistant said. "All readings are normal, until Holt touches the pod. Then everything spikes." Veron's eyes narrowed. There must be another reason, but she had no answer, and the alien girl, glowing blue and fragile as glass, was dying again. Ryan sat in a holding cell, staring at the wall. He could still feel her fingers twitch against the glass. She wasn't just reacting to sound or movement. It was his presence. It was him. But no one believed him. Not the command officers, not the medics, not even the AI systems. To them, he was just a low-ranking repair tech talking nonsense. But one person was listening. Dr. Kel Aran, a young medical researcher, stood just outside the brig, watching the footage. She had reviewed the logs on her own. Every time Holt stepped near the pod, her vitals stabilized. When he left, her heart rate crashed. A pattern, too precise to be chance. She took a risk. She unlocked the brig door. Ryan looked up as Kel stepped in. "You're not here to yell at me?" "No," she said. "I think you're right." He stood up. "Then help me get back in there." "It won't be easy," she said. "Veron has already called Central Command. She wants to shut the pod down and study the remains." Ryan's chest tightened. "Study her?" "She believes the girl's biology is dangerous. If we don't act fast, she'll be gone." Ryan didn't wait for permission. He followed Kel out of the brig and ran. In the lab, the shutdown had already begun. 2 doctors hovered over the pod, entering codes. The lights on the pod turned orange. Liquid inside began to drain. The girl's lips parted weakly. She whispered, "Ryan." The door burst open. "Stop!" Ryan shouted. The staff turned, alarms blared. "You're not authorized," one of them said. But Ryan didn't stop. He sprinted straight to the pod, placed both hands on the surface. And just like before, the monitors surged back to green. The girl's body arched slightly. She gasped. Her chest moved. She was breathing again. Dr. Veron stormed into the lab, furious. "What do you think you're doing?" "Saving her," Ryan said. "You saw the data. You've seen the logs. She reacts to me. She's manipulating you. She's barely alive." Ryan turned to the team. "She spoke to me. She said if I go, she dies. You can test all you want, but you can't deny that every time I stay near her, she survives." Veron gritted her teeth. "She's an unknown life form. If she bonds to you, it could be parasitic." "Then run your tests," Ryan snapped. "Just let me stay." Later that night, Kel ran deeper scans as Ryan sat beside the pod. The girl's eyes opened again, glowing faintly. She looked at Ryan. "Thank you." Ryan leaned close. "What's happening to you?" Her voice was weak. "My kind. Made for bonding. Energy from life. Soul-matched. Without it, we fade." Ryan blinked. "You mean, you were created to link with another life form?" She nodded slowly. "Only few connect. You match." He whispered, You mean I'm the only one keeping you alive? She gently placed her glowing fingers against the glass. Yes. Suddenly red alarms flashed. A new alert came through. Central Command override initiated. Subject scheduled for transport. Orders. Containment and full dissection. Ryan's eyes widened. He turned to Kel. They're going to take her. Kel's hands shook. We have to move her tonight. Ryan looked at the girl in the pod. She needed him to survive. Now, she needed him to save her. Mutiny in the lab. The emergency lights flashed red through the narrow halls of Haven 9. Inside the lab, Ryan Holt stood beside the glass pod, his hands shaking. He could hear the orders repeating from the station's comm system. Subject scheduled. For transport. Medical override in effect. All non-command staff must clear the lab. He looked down at the alien girl. Cyrell. Her skin had lost its glow again. Her breathing was shallow. And Ryan knew, if she was taken, she would not survive. Not without him. Dr. Kelleran stormed into the lab, holding a small data pad. They've locked down the docking bay, she whispered. All shuttles are sealed. Command thinks you're unstable. They're not wrong, Ryan said, his eyes still on the girl. Because I'm about to do something very stupid. Kel gave a small smile. Good. I was hoping you'd say that. She handed him a keycard. Cargo Bay 3. There's an old courier shuttle. I can override the locks for 7 minutes. After that, we're shut out for good. And the girl? Kel looked at the pod. She won't survive outside the tank without support, but I think I can move her into a portable stasis chamber. Ryan frowned. Can she stay conscious? Kel hesitated. She might, but only if she's touching you. They worked fast. Ryan gently opened the pod for the first time. Cold mist spilled out. Cyrell's body floated weightlessly as the fluid drained. Her breathing slowed even more. Her hand twitched, reaching blindly. I'm here, Ryan whispered, stepping closer. He touched her skin, and a pulse of blue light ran across her chest. Her eyes fluttered open. Don't leave. I won't, he promised. Kel wheeled over the stasis chamber, a transparent capsule, just big enough to hold her. Soft energy fields inside would keep her stable. Ryan gently lifted Cyrell into his arms. She was lighter than he expected. Warm. She didn't speak again, but her fingers curled weakly around his wrist. Even near death, she didn't let go. Minutes later, they moved through the back corridors. Kel used her ID to shut off cameras and unlock doors. At every corner, they risked being caught. Station guards had already begun searching the lower levels. Ryan carried the stasis chamber with Cyrell inside, one hand always resting against the surface. Each time his touch drifted away, her vitals dropped, so he didn't stop, not once. They reached Cargo Bay 3. The courier shuttle sat in the corner, a dented, rust-covered ship with one working engine and a cracked wing. Does it even fly? Ryan asked. Only in one direction, Kel said. Out. She ran to the control panel and swiped the keycard. A green light flashed. Access granted. Ryan carried Cyrell on board and laid her pod on the sidebed. Suddenly, footsteps, shouting. They'd been found. Go, Kel shouted. I'll hold them off. Ryan paused. They'll throw you in a cell. They won't kill me, she said. But they'll kill her. Ryan hesitated, then gave her a grateful look. You're braver than most soldiers. I've met, she smiled. Just go, before I change my mind. Ryan jumped into the pilot seat. The shuttle groaned, then roared to life. He slammed the launch switch. The blast doors opened just enough for the ship to squeeze through. Guards poured into the hangar, too late. The shuttle shot into space like a bullet, out of Haven 9, into the dark. Inside the ship, alarms still beeped. Fuel, low. Navigation, offline. Tracking, active. But Ryan didn't care. He turned to the girl. Her chest still moved. She was alive and safe, for now. Hours passed. The stars outside turned to blur as they entered a quiet warp zone. Ryan finally let himself rest. He sat beside Cyril's pod and whispered, "We're out. We're—" She opened her eyes slowly. "You stayed." "Yeah," he said softly, still not sure why. She smiled faintly. "You were made for me." He frowned. "What does that mean?" She looked into his eyes. "I was born in a lab. My kind made to connect. But most of us never find our match. Our life fades without it." "And I'm your match?" he asked. She nodded. "You are my spark." Ryan didn't know what to say. He just sat there, his hand resting on the glass, and for the first time in her life, Cyril slept peacefully. The truth in her skin. The stolen shuttle floated through a quiet sector of space, far from trade routes, far from danger, for now. Inside, the hum of the engine was the only sound. Ryan Holt sat near the small pod, where Cyril rested. Her breathing was steady now, her skin glowing faintly again. The energy inside her seemed to pulse in rhythm with his presence. She opened her eyes slowly and looked at him. "You didn't run," she whispered. Ryan gave a tired smile. "You didn't let me." They were alone now. No guards, no doctors, no orders. Just a human tech and an alien girl who wasn't supposed to exist. He handed her a small water capsule and helped her drink. Her hands were weak, but she managed. "I need to understand," Ryan said. "Who are you? Where did you come from?" Cyril sat up slightly in the chamber, her voice soft. "I was born, not from a mother, but in a tube." Ryan blinked. She continued. "My kind are called the Varellan. We were created in a hidden lab on a gas moon, designed by scientists, part organic, part energy. We were never meant to live full lives, just to be studied, tested, controlled." Ryan listened, quietly, heart heavy. "Why create you at all?" he asked. "They wanted living batteries, bodies that could store power, heal fast, sync with machines." She paused. "But something changed. One of us connected to a human during a test. Her energy doubled, healed wounds, brought systems back online. So they started changing us, tuning us to respond to only human touch." Ryan's eyes widened. "They made you dependent on humans?" She nodded. "But not every human. Only those who match our inner pattern, our soul current as we call it. Very rare. Without a match, we fade." Cyril looked down. "I was one of the last. They called me a near match. Too weak to be useful. I was going to be destroyed. But one doctor helped me escape. She placed me in that pod, programmed it to float toward human space, to find someone. To find you." Ryan leaned back, stunned. "So this connection between us, it's not just biology." "No," she said softly. "It's deeper. I feel your presence, even when you're not touching me. And without it, I break." There was silence. Just the sound of the ship breathing around them. Finally, Ryan said, "And now the galaxy wants you dead, just because you exist." Cyril looked into his eyes. "Not just me. Anyone like me. If they find the others, they'll erase us." "Are there more?" Ryan asked. She hesitated. "I think so. Hidden, sleeping, waiting for someone who can wake them." Suddenly, the ship's AI spoke. "Incoming message. Federation command beacon locked. Tracking activated." Ryan stood up fast. No. How did they find us?" He ran to the controls. On the screen, a red dot blinked, then another, and another. 3 ships. Fast. Armed. "We have to move," he said. Cyril tried to stand, but her knees buckled. Ryan caught her. "You're too weak," he said. "Not if you're close," she replied. He carried her to the co-pilot seat and strapped her in. "You still trust me?" he asked. Cyril smiled. "With my whole life." As the shuttle prepared to flee again, Ryan thought about her story. The girl in the glass pod, who was never meant to breathe free, a being who needed a human to survive, and somehow had found him in a galaxy of billions. He gripped the controls. This time, they'll have to go through me, and he launched the shuttle into deep warp, with her energy lighting the console beside him like a second heartbeat. Hunted for saving her. The stars became streaks of light as the stolen shuttle blasted into deep warp space. Inside, Ryan Holt sat at the controls, jaw clenched. His eyes flicked from the blinking radar to the fuel gauge, both dropping fast. Beside him, Sayero leaned back in the co-pilot's chair, still weak but glowing. Her presence kept the ship's systems from failing completely. Her energy, linked to Ryan's heartbeat, was now the only thing keeping the shuttle running. She opened her eyes slowly. They followed us again? Ryan nodded. 3 ships. Federation class, fast. They want you, she whispered. No, he said quietly. They want to destroy something they don't understand. Minutes later, the warp engines shut down. The shuttle dropped out of hyperspeed near a shadowy world known only on pirate maps, Cinder's Edge. It was lawless, ruled by mercenaries. No government, no rules, but Ryan had contacts there, and he was out of options. They landed near a rundown outpost carved into red stone cliffs. Old freighters and shady traders filled the sky. Ryan pulled a hood over his head. You'll have to stay close, he told Cyril. She stepped forward, holding his arm tightly. If I go too far, my body will weaken again. I won't let that happen. Inside the outpost, the air smelled of oil and fear. Ryan met with an old friend, Corin, a half-cybernetic smuggler. What the hell did you bring me? Corin asked, staring at Cyril. She's not for sale, Ryan said. Then what do you want? A fuel cell, a stealth rig, and silence. Corin chuckled. You're being hunted by the Federation and the Science Council. That's not cheap. Ryan pulled out his last plasma credit chip. Corin raised an eyebrow. All this for her? Ryan looked at Cyril, then back at Corin. She's worth more than all your ships. Later that night, they hid in a storage bay while Corin's crew installed the upgrades. Cyril sat beside a flickering lamp, tracing patterns in the dust. You believe in me, she said softly. Ryan turned. Why wouldn't I? Because I was made in a lab, because I'm not real. He knelt beside her. You bleed, you laugh, you fight to live. What part of that isn't real? Her eyes shimmered. No one has ever said that to me before. Suddenly, the alarm rang again. Corin's voice shouted through the comm. Federation dropships just entered orbit. They found you. Ryan jumped to his feet. How? Your girl's energy signature. It's rare, but it's traceable. Cyril stood weak but glowing stronger near Ryan. They'll kill everyone if they find us, she said. Ryan pulled out a pulse rifle. Then we give them nothing. Back at the shuttle, Corin's crew was loading the fuel and stealth tech. Ryan helped Cyril into the cockpit, but before he could take off, an explosion hit the cliff wall. A strike team was here. Blasters fired. Traders ran. Ryan turned and saw a masked agent aiming at the ship. He raised his rifle, but Cyril stepped in front of him. She raised her glowing hands. A wave of blue-white light exploded from her body. The enemy's weapon short-circuited. The agent screamed and dropped. Cyril collapsed in Ryan's arms. He held her tightly. Why did you do that? Because I feel you, she whispered. And I don't want to lose that feeling. He carried her aboard, strapped her in, and launched. The shuttle roared into the sky, barely escaping the chase. Outside, ships tried to follow, but this time, the stealth rig activated. They vanished. In deep space once more, Ryan watched her sleep. He touched her hand gently. First you needed me to survive, he whispered. Now, I think I need you too. Her lips curled in a small smile, even in sleep. I know, she whispered faintly. The trial of the human. The shuttle didn't make it far. 2 days after the escape from Cinder's Edge, Ryan Holt and Cyril were ambushed near a trade gate. A trap had been waiting. A fleet of Federation patrol ships surrounded them. Too many to run, too many to fight. Ryan surrendered, but only after making one demand. She gets to live. They agreed, but only if he faced the consequences. Now, inside the cold courtroom of Vega Prime, Ryan stood in handcuffs. Hundreds of officials, scientists, and military officers filled the seats. Screens floated in the air, showing his stolen flight logs, orders disobeyed, and security footage from Haven 9. A man in a silver uniform stood at the podium. Ryan Holt, former engineer, now accused of defying protocol, stealing a shuttle, harboring a classified alien, and threatening galactic safety. Ryan looked straight ahead. No fear, no regret, only purpose. Behind a shield wall, Cyril sat alone, her skin dim, her body weak. She hadn't been allowed near him since they were captured, and she was fading again. The lead judge asked, "Do you deny the charges?" "No," Ryan said. "You endangered others for a single unknown." "She's not unknown," he replied. "She's just unwanted." The court scoffed. Veron, the lead scientist from Haven 9, stepped up to testify. "She was a lab mistake," Veron said. "Her kind feed on human life. They're unstable, dangerous. She's never hurt me," Ryan said. "Yet," Veron snapped. The judge turned to the monitors. A recording played, Cyril speaking to Ryan in the lab. "If you go, I die." The room murmured. The judge frowned. "Is that a biological threat?" "No," Ryan said. "That's a cry for help." Then another clip played. Cyril's voice recorded from the shuttle. "I was created, but I feel. I dream. I want to live." The silence in the room grew heavier. Ryan stepped forward, voice steady. "They made her in a lab. They gave her a body, but not a choice. I didn't free her because I'm a hero. I freed her because no one else did. If that's a crime, I'll wear it with pride." He looked at Cyril, her head lifted weakly. She smiled. A few members of the court began to whisper. One stood up. An older man, the Earth ambassador. "My son died of a condition we couldn't cure," he said softly. He needed someone who could connect to him. Cyril connected. The room went still. "I don't see a weapon," the ambassador continued. "I see a second chance." The judge took a long breath. "We will now vote." One by one, council lights lit up. Green. Release. Red. Punish. It was close. Too close. Then, the final vote turned green. Ryan's cuffs unlocked. Cyril collapsed from exhaustion behind the glass. Ryan rushed to her, guards stepping aside. He caught her in his arms. "You did it," she whispered. "No," he said, holding her tight. "We did." Later, the court announced, "Cyril shall live, but under protected care. Ryan Holt is free, under the condition that he remains bonded as her guardian." Ryan smiled. Wasn't planning to leave her anyway. That night, as they left the courthouse under starry skies, Cyril looked up and whispered, "Do you still believe I'm real?" Ryan took her hand. "More than anything I've ever touched." 6 months passed. The galaxy no longer called Cyril a lab mistake. They called her a miracle. Her survival had changed everything. How humans saw alien life, how science saw emotion, and how cold rules began to bend toward compassion. And at the center of that change stood Ryan Holt, once a simple maintenance worker, now the first human guardian of a genetically engineered species. They were given a quiet home on Lunaris 3, a small moon wrapped in warm clouds and crystal lakes. No cities, no labs, no Federation patrols. Just peace, the kind they had both earned. Ryan stood at the edge of a silver lake fixing an old signal dish. Behind him, soft footsteps moved through the grass. He turned. Cyril stood barefoot under the soft light of twin suns. Her skin glowed a gentle blue. No wires, no tanks, no machines, just her, alive. stronger, free. "You're up early," Ryan said. She smiled. "I couldn't sleep." "You okay?" She stepped beside him, looking out at the lake. "For the first time, I feel whole. I don't feel like I'm fading anymore." He looked at her, surprised. "Really?" She nodded. "Maybe your presence helped me change. Maybe my system adapted. But now, I can survive for longer on my own." A long pause followed. "You mean, you don't need me anymore?" he said softly. Cyril turned, touched his hand. "No, I mean, I choose to stay." They sat on a rock together. Ryan looked up at the stars, remembering it all. The lab, the courtroom, the running. "Did you ever think we'd make it here?" he asked. Cyril chuckled. "I wasn't even supposed to live." "Well," he said, "you did more than that." She reached into her robe and pulled out the first data pad he ever gave her, the one she used to learn how to speak more fluently. It still held his old recordings, his Earth music, his messages. "I keep it with me," she whispered. "Because it holds our beginning." He smiled. "Then maybe it's time we write the next chapter." A year later, the Unified Species Council invited Cyril to speak. They had found other Virellan stasis pods on abandoned labs, still asleep, still waiting for someone to wake them, but not just anyone. "They'll need soul matches," she told the crowd. "Not just science, not just treatment, connection. What saved me was not a cure. It was a person." She turned toward Ryan, sitting quietly at the edge of the chamber. Their eyes met. Everyone saw it, and everyone understood. Final scene back on Lunaris 3, Cyril and Ryan walked through the forest trail, glowing fireflies surrounding them. "Are you happy?" he asked. Cyril stopped and looked up at the stars. "I chose life," she said, "but I also chose you." He smiled. "No one else believed you. But I did." She took his hand. "And I'll never forget the first time you held mine through the glass."